Hello everyone! Today I have for you what I think is a very exciting video and also a very important video. It is the Be a Good Human book tag, which was originally created by Jen Campbell, and I was tagged by the lovely Lila Wood, so I will link both of those ladies down below. The rules of the tag are basically just to pick some books to show that have broadened your worldview, have made you think about the world in a different way, and that have broadened your mind and your heart in some way, that has made you look at the world in a new way, given you a new perspective, or made you a better person in some way. So I'm going to show you some books today that I feel like have done that for me. And first of all, I wanted to talk a little bit about what I think it means to be a good human and what some of the characteristics are of a good human. And for me, it's very simple. Above all, I think the most important thing is kindness and compassion to others. I think that one of the greatest things you can do in your life is just to be kind. Try your best to be as kind as you can to everyone you meet, because that just goes such a long way. Just a little bit of kindness really goes farther than you could really ever imagine. If we just all strive to do that, I think the world would be a much better place. And in order to be kind and compassionate to people, I think you need to understand as much as you can the way that they view the world and the things that they're going through and that they have to deal with on a daily basis that you yourself have never had to experience. Of course, we all know that one of the best ways to experience different viewpoints is to read. So without further ado, I'm going to show you some books right now that I feel like contain some different viewpoints about the world. First of all, I have I Am the Messenger by Marcus Zusak. This is, of course, by the same author who wrote The Book Thief, which I also have in my file somewhere. And this is about 19-year-old Ed Kennedy, who's kind of not very happy with his life. He's got a dissatisfying job. His love life isn't going so well. And then one day he receives a playing card in the mail with 3 addresses on it and times that he is supposed to go and visit the addresses. And he does this, and this is the start of his journey, helping these people who need different things from him, and he has to figure out what they are and how to help them and how to make their life a little bit better. And this is just a very touching book. It's one of my favorite books of all time, and it just, to me, it gives the message of what I was talking about earlier, just kindness and compassion to people, and do your part to make the world a better place and to help people when you can. It just gives the message that anybody can make a difference in the world. If you make a difference in one person's life, then you really change the world. As cliche or corny as that may sound, I believe that that's true, and this book definitely does a very good job of proving that message. So that's the first book I have for you. And then I have Stargirl and Love Stargirl by Jerry Spinelli, which are 2 of my favorite books of all time as well. I love these books. If you can tell, they're all kinds of marked up with quotes and everything. And the thing I love about these books most is Stargirl herself, the character Stargirl. She's one of my favorite fictional characters of all time. And she just lives her life, I think, the way that we all should, and the way that she's just a great role model for being yourself and not caring about your differences, and even celebrating those differences and using them to help people accept and embrace their own differences and live the life that they want to live without fear of judgment by anyone else. Stargirl is the very portrait of unconditional love to me. And the next book I have is kind of an obvious one, but I had to put it in there because my little heart wouldn't let me not, and it is Harry Potter. The entire Harry Potter series just teaches so many good and valuable lessons. Of all, this series, I think, is about love and about the power of that and how it can help you to overcome anything in your life. And I think we can all, so many of us out there can say that this has shaped the people that we are today, and it has helped us become better individuals through all the lessons that J.K. Rowling so wisely poured out to us in these 7 novels. And I just think the world is better because this is in it. So I had to include that. The next one I have is kind of a different type of book. It's not a novel or anything. It is Soul Pancakes, Chew on Life's Big Questions. Speak your mind, unload your questions, figure out what it means to be human. And it's basically, the title is kind of self-explanatory. It's just kind of an exercise workbook type deal that helps you go through life's big questions about their sections on brain and the soul, art and creativity, experiences and emotions, love, sex and relationships, virtues and vices, God and religion, science and technology, just pretty much everything you can think of. There's a topic for it in here. And this is actually done by Rainn Wilson, who you might recognize as Dwight Schrute from The Office, the US version. And he started an organization called Soul Pancake. They have a YouTube channel. I'll link that down below. You should really go check it out. It's very inspirational. They just do a lot about, they just want to open up a dialogue about life's big questions and have everyone discuss them in a kind of no pressure environment. It's very non-judgmental. All worldviews are welcome. And yeah, it's just kind of, I think this type of stuff is really important to kind of just ask yourself these questions and challenge yourself to answer them and see what you really do think about them, and then share your views with others and hopefully get some new insights from them and new perspectives that you hadn't thought of before. And I just think it's really important to do these types of exercises in your life to just keep you mindful of what your views are in life. It really is kind of food for the soul, no pun intended. And next we have, this might seem like kind of a strange pick, but it is Carrie by Stephen King. And yes, this is a horror, psychological thriller type novel, but to me, more than anything, it's about Carrie and the way that she is treated at school. She is raised by a super religious mother, kind of a religious fanatic, and she, of course, that very much affects her, and she's kind of abused by her mother, who doesn't see it as abuse, but sees it as, you know, trying to help her and make her holy and everything, but it's not healthy. And she's teased at school relentlessly about this her whole life and feels like a total outcast. To me, it's just a reminder of there are plenty of people that we all know out in this world who are made outcast by society, and that it's up to us to change that and to bring them into the fold and to offer them some kindness and support whenever we can. The next thing I have is an autobiography by Helen Keller, The Story of My Life, and I've always been really inspired by Helen Keller and fascinated by her. I can't even imagine the hardships that she had to go through in her life and how she overcame them so beautifully and gracefully and was able to learn and accomplish everything that she did. Hearing her story in her own words is just really inspiring. The next book I have is North of Beautiful by Justina Chin, and I haven't read this in years. I read this in like my sophomore year of high school maybe, so like 4 years ago. It's been a while. But from what I can remember, it is about a girl named Tara Cooper who was born with a birthmark on her face, and she has been teased about it her whole life and has always felt self-conscious about it, and it's just about her story, accepting herself the way that she is and realizing that she is beautiful exactly the way she is. And it's just a beautiful story about that, and I would really recommend it. Next we have another book that I'm sure all of you have heard of, and it is Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close by Jonathan Safran Foer. And this is about Oscar, whose father was killed on 9/11. And it's about him just grieving and having to deal with that and trying to come to grips with it. It's a very touching read. It's very beautifully written. It definitely opens your eyes to what that type of tragedy can do in a person's life and how they have to rebuild after that. Next one I actually haven't read, but it is The Boy in the Dress by David Williams. And this is about Dennis, who doesn't really fit in conventional gender roles in society. He is a boy and he loves soccer, but he also loves fashion. And one day, one of his friends convinces him to wear a dress to school, and of course the fallout from that is quite intense, and Dennis has to deal with that, and it's just about Dennis coming to grips with who he is as a person, his family, and the people around him having to come to accept who he is. And the next book I have might also seem like a bit of a weird choice like Carrie, and that is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. If you haven't read this, I'm sure you're thinking, what in the world is she choosing that book for? That is a horror story about a monster, but it's totally different from the movie. They're nothing, any of the movies, they're nothing like the actual novel. And where the movie is just about the monster and how he terrorizes the town and is basically just for horror and shock value. The book is actually very complex, and both emotionally, mentally, it's just about human nature and what makes us human and different arguments to that case. You know, it's just a fascinating read. I really enjoyed it. It was much more than I was expecting, and it just really delves into those questions, into the human psyche and the human experience, and I would just really recommend this because it definitely broadened my worldview and changed the way that I thought about things. So this is a great book to read if you're interested in that. And then next I have another obvious one, and that is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. I don't think I really need to explain what this is about or anything, or why I'm putting it in this video. Atticus Finch is basically the definition of a good human, and he just sticks up for what he believes in no matter what anybody says, and he will fight for it, even if it means that things are harder for him or his children. Obviously he doesn't want things to be harder for his children or to put them in danger in any way, but he knows how important it is that he teaches them what is right, and that you should always do what is right, no matter how it's going to affect you, that it is our duty in the world to stick up for those who can't stick up for themselves. I have this novel right here. It's actually two novels in one. Sand in Passing by Nella Larson, and I've only read Passing so far. I read it for my American literature class this past semester, and this is a piece of work during the Harlem Renaissance, and so it deals with issues of race and society and things like that. It's a really fascinating book, and I would definitely recommend it. And then I have two books that again are kind of in a similar vein, on a similar topic, and that is Speak by Lori Halse Anderson and Just Listen by Sarah Dessen, and these both deal with cases of rape, especially in the society we live in now, where this is such an issue, and that we need to change the way that we respond to victims and how we help them through such a horrific experience. Books like these I think are really important to read. And then the last book I have is A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness, and this deals with a young boy whose mother has cancer and how he is trying to deal with that and how he's grieving. It's just a beautifully written story with elements of magical realism that really make it all the more impactful, and it's just a very emotionally charged story that I think is a very important read and will definitely make you think about grief and the way that people deal with it, especially children. So those are all the books I have to show you for the Be a Good Human book tag. I'm so glad that this tag exists. I think it's a wonderful thing, and I think we should spread it around as much as we can and get as many people involved. And I would definitely love any recommendations from you all about books that have changed your worldview or challenged you in some way and expanded your mind or your heart and just made you see things in a way that you hadn't before. So definitely leave those in the comments. Yeah, and thank you to Jen for creating this tag. I think it's a wonderful thing. And thank you to Lila for tagging me. I'm going to leave some people that I'm going to tag to do this down in the description. Anyone else that I don't tag wants to do this, definitely feel free. I think we should have as many of these videos out there as we can. And that is all I have for you today. Thank you for watching. Bye.